Hey everyone, today we'll talk about programming languages. I know that for a lot of people that are getting started with programming, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the different programming languages that you can learn. Hopefully, with this video, you'll have a better understanding on what are the best programming languages you can start with. I'll share with you what I personally believe is the best one, and I'll provide some context to explain why I think so. So let's get straight to the point. I believe that the best programming language you can learn in 2021 is it's Java. And here are the three main reasons on why I believe this. The first reason deals with high and low level programming languages. One way of differentiating programming languages is by how high or low level they are. A high level language is easier to interact for humans, while a low level language is closer to the native language of the computer. Let's understand this with a day-to-day example. If you want to get a driving license to drive a car, the only thing you need to know about the car are the tools you'll be interacting with. You'll learn how to steer, how to brake, how to fuel the fuel, but you won't really have to know how an engine works or the physics that allow your car to stop thanks to friction. Once you learn the basics, you can drive several models of different cars. Things change a bit if you decide to have a job as a car technician instead. In that case, you'll need to know how the parts of the car work and how you can fix them. And you might know some cars better than others. Things will be very different in the case you become a researcher that works with electric engines and designs them for a car company. In this case, you'll probably know everything about your engine, how it works, all its components, and all the physics laws that make it work. But you might not have a good knowledge of other types of engines used in other cars. You see here that on one extreme, you have a deep knowledge of one specific part of a car, but not a broad knowledge about different models and different cars. On the other side, when the only thing you care about is driving, you can drive pretty much every car in the world, but you don't really have to know too much about how each of these cars work. Programming languages are the same. The lower level, the more deep understanding you'll have, and you'll need to have, on how a computer works. But this comes with the cost of specializing on a specific system or a technology. At the opposite, the higher level allows you to use a lot of different technologies, like driving a lot of cars. But the downside is that you might not know how each of these technologies work. Similarly to when you drive different cars, but you don't really know how each of their engine works. Now here you see a somewhat personal scale of low to high level programming languages. On the higher spectrum, you'll see languages like Python and JavaScript. These are languages that are handling a lot of things for you, and that gives you the flexibility of building things without having too much to worry about how things work on the computer. On the other side, we have a language like assembly. With this language, you'll almost be writing instructions directly for the computer. This is a great way to understand how a computer thinks, and the ideal language to write some very specific tasks related to the computer architecture. But it will be very hard for you to build projects such as a web app or a server using this language. And guess where Java is located in this line? Exactly in the middle. The great advantage that I think Java has as a programming language is that it's slow enough for you to understand how computers work without having to go too deep into the subject and specializing into specific technology. At the same time, it's high enough that it allows you to build different technologies in different fields efficiently. This is a good balance and compromise for you to learn computer basics while still being able to build different projects. And this directly connects me to my second point. Because the second reason on why I believe Java is the best programming language you can learn as the first language is based on the amount of things you can build with this language. So here you can see a list of all the programming languages and all the technologies that they can build. Java not only is great for backend, but is still, for this field, is the most used programming language in the world. In addition to that, Android apps are also built using Java. As you can see here, there still are some areas for which, if you want to work with, Java won't be enough. User interfaces projects are probably the most important ones, that with Java there is really nothing you can work with. Especially for web apps, you need to learn JavaScript. which happens to be very different from Java, and you also need to learn CSS and HTML. Similarly, for machine learning and data science projects, Python is certainly the most important programming language. And with Java, there is no way you can work on this field. So if you know already that you want to work on these fields, then maybe Python and JavaScript might be better choices for your first language. The truth, though, is that if you learn Java first, it's going to be much easier to then move and learn JavaScript and Python. While the opposite is not quite true, and it's generally harder for people that only know high-level languages to move to a lower one. The third reason for which I believe Java is the best programming language you should start with is that Java is pretty old. Java was created in 1991. Many people would see this as a negative aspect, but think about it. What makes a programming language great is not how new it is, but it is for how many years it has been the standard on a worldwide scale. So by learning Java, you know you'll learn a programming language that was well built. Now, to conclude, I want to take a different perspective on this question. When you approach programming for the first time, the choice of your programming language is important, but not essential. In other words, it's not that by choosing one or another language, you'll have a different career or you end up having more job opportunities. What really matters is that when you learn your first programming language, you properly understand the basics of computer science. You'll start with if statements and for loops. You'll then move to algorithms and data structures, and then you'll learn more advanced topics, such as concurrency and synchronization. All of these are fundamental concepts that you need to know, independently on the programming language you choose. In order to achieve that, you need to make sure that you spend enough time on one programming language to allow yourself not only to scratch the surface, but to work on more advanced concepts too. I've seen far too many people that would just learn the same basic things across 4, 5, 6 different programming languages without having any improvements on their basic computer science knowledge. It is much better to be an engineer that knows one language well than an engineer that knows several but poorly. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please subscribe to the channel. I know that there are some people that probably did not really agree with the things I just said, and if that's the case, just leave a comment below with your thoughts so that people can also understand different point of views and we can just discuss more.